I'm going to be talking about auto-fallatio, the snake biting its own tail, which is the Ouroboros, Auto-Cunnilingus, the bris, yoga in general, a baby sucking his thumb, the two souls that are divided at the waist area, the animal soul below and the godly soul above. These are the deepest aspects of Judaism and of psychological development and everything. It's what everybody's really waiting for, discussion of this, of yoga. You know, in the secular world, yoga has become a very big deal. One of the things is that women think that they're doing yoga because they're more flexible than men, you see. So when they go to the yoga studio, they're able to do these asanas and these postures and look like they're more developed than men. The whole entire goal of yoga for a man, for hatha yoga, which is what they're all doing here, is to make him flexible enough to give himself auto-fallatio. Auto-fallatio is just a fancy name to give yourself a blowjob. To do that, one has to be limber, you see. And what does it mean to be able to do auto-fallatio? Auto-fallatio means that you're connecting the mouth to the bris, to the penis. This union of the mouth and the penis, which is the lower tongue. There's a lot in it's just like the tongue is the 11th digit of the top of the fingers. The tongue is considered the 11th digit. The penis is considered the 11th digit of the feet. And as you know, there are 22 Hebrew letters, and this means that there are 11 letters on the hands and the tongue, and 11 letters on the toes and the penis, and so it's 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, split in half. So if you've heard the letter transformations of like Atbash and Albam, these are 11 and 11 and reflect to this in a certain way. This idea of yoga for women so popular here because they think, oh, they're doing yoga. But the whole idea of yoga is to be flexible enough for this auto-fallatio. But 0 women, or 1 in a billion, to be a contortionist from a circus, can give herself Auto-Cunnilingus. So they're not really doing better than men in yoga. There's no women yogis. They're really, and this is a really deep thing right now, they're judging themselves from a male point of view, that they're more flexible than the male, and that they'd be able to reach down and give themselves Auto-Fallatio if they had one, but not Auto-Cunnilingus. And that's why there are so few yoginis in the entire tradition, Hindu tradition. In a certain sense, the woman has her own mirror image in herself. She's 2 times the physical, as expressed in Judaism through Leah and Rachel. Two-letter Hays. The letter Yud of the male, 10, is split into 2-letter Hays of 5 each. So, quite frankly, the woman is her own sexual object herself, which is obvious when you see them in makeup and taking care of hair and nails and clothes and interested in the physical world. They're their own mirror image. Where a male has to make himself into his own mirror image, and he has to make his own union to the physical, which is below the belt, to make himself flexible enough for Auto-Fallatio. There's a very deep secret here, because the whole thing for a male revolves around the bris. It also revolves around the prophetic position of what it's called the head between the knees, which is the position of the Paschal lamb when it's roasted for Pesach. And it's the position of the bris itself at the 8th day, when, as you know, there are 3 parts of the bris. There's Milah, there's Pariah. Everybody knows those 2. You know, the second part of the bris is what makes a Jew, because there's no Milah without Pariah. And other cultures cut off the Milah, the foreskin. You know? Muslims do that. But they don't have Pariah. Pariah is the tearing off of the gland. And nobody has Metzitza Hadam, Bepay, sucking with the mouth, where the father, or the moil, but it should be the father, sucks the blood off of the bris of the child. Now this child, who was in a fetus position in the womb of the Paschal lamb position of the head between the knees, comes out and gets initiated into the society on the 8th day, the infinite day. Infinity, if you see the infinity sign, is very much like this, where the father gives the child a fellatio to take the blood. And in a sense, this child is a extension of the father, and the father and the child's penis goes into the father's mouth, and that in a sense is an auto-fallatio. And this is a very deep, deep secret, because that's the whole idea of yoga afterwards. Then a little later on, you very often see a child sucking his thumb, which is a union of the total animal soul, of the godly soul, because the hands are the godly soul. In a certain sense, the shofar is a union of the animal soul, of the shofar itself, in the godly soul's mouth. This blowing of the shofar is no different than the bris. And the metzitza b'pei. All music is like that with mouth instruments. Trumpet, clarinet. All instruments of shofar, and unconsciously it's the same thing. This is all the Ouroboros, the union within the self. The development of the self to be self-realized, self-actualized, self-sufficient. Self-sufficient. That's what the whole idea of the Ouroboros is about. That's the whole idea of the snake biting its own tail. That's the whole idea of the development of yoga. Self-sufficient. All this with b'pei, with the mouth, is not much different than the concept of food going into that mouth. Food to feed the animal soul into the godly soul of the mouth. And one can extend this and say that's why one says a bracha. Because the bracha is obviously of the godly soul over the animal soul. But it's a union of the two souls. When one recognizes this, that's why some people pray with a gartel. They wrap a sash and tie a sash, which is a union. A belt with a buckled belt is a union like a snake biting its own tail, or the Ouroboros around the waist to split the animal bottom into with the godly top. Which, in just saying those two words, top and bottom, bring up some S&M concepts, which are the same thing. master-slave, dominant-submissive, male-female, is it possible that a woman needs a man for the godly soul because she's totally complete in the animal soul? And that man needs a woman in the animal soul because that was the zelah that was taken away? Remember, woman has two parts. So one part was taken away. Adam still had life, but he didn't have the second part of life. Because a woman has two parts of that animal soul. Obviously, I'm going to be talking more on this. There's a tremendous development in the society. And when you tell me who else is talking about it, please text me. Or whatever. Send me some sort of note. Because nobody's talking about this. Because everybody's fooling. The deep secrets are found in Kabbalah. What Kabbalah means is to receive. These things are evident, but they're masked. They're masked behind the societal. Everything is included in the bris. And most societies want to do away with the bris, and especially with the most important aspect of that bris, which is the metzitza b'pei. It's a horror for a lot of people. Oh. And so they lose the effect of the yoga. And what does yoga mean? It means union. Yoke. So we're dealing in some very deep issues here, which haven't even been scratched. But I just thought I'd throw out some words for you. Auto-Fallatio is the goal of yoga. Auto-Fallatio is the goal of Judaism. It's the goal of meditation. There's no such thing as Auto-Cunnilingus. This is not a woman's issue. They basically can't do it. So all these texts and religions and practices are for the male to be able to do this. And the 100 million women who think they're yogis, they're not. They're just people trying to enter into the male world. The same way one enters into the societal. These are very deep issues which we'll go on from.